Champaign County Agriculture Today with your host, Dennis Riggs.
Hello and welcome to Champaign County Agriculture Today. My name is Dennis Riggs, your host for the next few minutes as we talk about agricultural issues and the agricultural industry here in East Central Illinois. Agriculture. Do you know anything about it? Have you learned about it? Possibly your mother, your father were farmers. How about your grandparents? Did they grow up on a farm? What we find out today is many people are removing themselves from agriculture by a generation or another generation as less and less people are farmers and more people are consumers of agricultural products. So what we'd like to talk about today is how do we teach the people that consume agricultural products, you and I, every day, 3 times a day at our meals, how do we teach ourselves about agriculture, an industry that's so basic and so important to our area and to us personally? Well, today on our program, we've brought some experts in that are in the ag education field, and we're going to talk to them about how we talk about agriculture and how we learn about agriculture. Robbie Berg is with us today. Brandy Kraft is with us today. We appreciate it. Let's get our introduction started and find out where you're from. Robbie, tell me a little bit about yourself, hometown, where you started out, and what your position is today in ag education.
Yes, Dennis, I actually grew up in Indiana, but I had ties to Illinois because my great-great-grandfather had land around the Fithian area. And I grew up on a family farm in Indiana, was in 4-H for 10 years, and then actually received my degrees from Indiana State University in science as well as then the University of Illinois. So have lived here since 1973, so could say I'm an Illinoisan.
We'll let you in on that.
Yes.
Well, I see your partners, your title is Earth Partners. Now, tell me about what Earth Partners is.
Well, Earth Partners was originated in or developed in 1993, and it started with the Champaign County Chamber of Commerce Agribusiness Committee, and also facilitating coordination in agriculture education, FK, which is a Illinois State Board of Ed line item. And they came together, and all of the members of that agribusiness committee felt that agriculture education at the K-12 level was very important. And could Champaign County be a pilot county for the state? There had been volunteer programs through the Illinois Farm Bureau with the Ag in the Classroom type title, but this would be the professional arm and clearinghouse, actually, that would get out the kits that were put together through the university and the FK project, and not just put them into the teachers' hands, but then training, and with the thought that if teachers understood the impact that agriculture makes, science and math and social studies, as well as the products that they consume, then they would become enthusiastic through that training and then use the materials that are free. That was kind of the operative word that got teachers hooked. Was not only was it a fascinating area of study, and how it could so easily tie into the science and math and what they were already teaching, but that the materials were free and that they got materials.
Well, now, we know in life, in Econ 101, we all learned there's really nothing free,
That's
but
true.
rather just somebody else that pays for it. So who funded this project?
Well, it originated through Extension, and the Champaign County Farm Bureau was the seed money for that. And but from that, we also are heavily dependent upon grants that I write and we secure, as well as public donations. We have over 100 agribusiness and individuals that contribute to the program, and a lot of in-kind contributions as far as classroom facilities, computer facilities through Parkland College, and so it's one great big partnership.
Sounds like a lot of work going on there. Well, our other guest this morning is Brandy Kraft. Brandy, pleasure to have you with us today. Give us a little idea of your background and what your position is today.
Okay. Well, I grew up on a family farm, so I have direct connections. I grew up in northern Illinois in Grundy County on a dairy and grain farm where I still help today. So that's where I got the passion for agriculture and agriculture education. And I was very active in a lot of things growing up, like the 4-H and FFA, and had many different projects from poultry to dairy to beef cattle, as well as gardening and baking projects. So I was familiar with that, and then I proceeded to go to college and study agriculture education. Was a high school ag teacher in East Central Illinois for several years, worked in industry, and then now I recently, over a year ago, came to University of Illinois as a teaching associate in the agriculture education program there on campus. So basically what I do is teach classes and prepare students for the real world of teaching. You know, get them the content they need, help them do the lesson plans so that they can educate the high school population, the middle school, and others about agriculture education.
Well, it sounds like you've started out on the grassroots level, maybe even the firing line, and of course actually on the farm, and then teaching yourself, and then working out to the young people that are learning how to be teachers themselves. Well, then you can answer this one. Why is ag education important? Why should students know a little bit about agriculture?
Well, and like Robbie mentioned before, people are not directly connected to the farm anymore because their grandparents no longer, or they're just generations removed. But they still, everybody is linked. Everybody around the world has a direct connection, and that's agriculture, because we all eat. So we all have food that is an ag product, and then our homes and our shelter, and then clothes. And those all have direct links to agriculture. And consumers need to be familiar with where those products come from, because they don't just magically appear. So we need to have those ag educators out there so that they can teach others where these things are coming from, so they realize the importance of the farmer that feeds, 140 people these days.
So you've known that for many years as you've grown up on the farm. You've seen these products be turned into corn chips or corn starch or ethanol fuels or, of course, roast beef or whatever. Students today, do they understand that, or is there a bigger need to teach folks that have not grown up on the farm about agriculture?
There is a need, and what you see is the education programs in the school aren't so much focused on the traditional production agriculture of just farming. It's expanded to these things. A lot of programs have turned to an agri-science program because agriculture is directly connected with science, and there's a lot of science-based activities. So they definitely need to know where this comes from and to have that background. And students don't know. When you ask them chocolate milk, especially at the younger ages, they think that comes from a brown cow. They don't know, or they think it comes from the grocery store. They don't realize that it even came from a cow. They think just because their moms go to the grocery store and pick it up, that's where it came from, the grocery store. They don't realize the other connections that it has to agriculture.
Well, Robbie, I can sense that this is where you kind of step in. This is a lot of your programs that try to take, after the teachers have been trained and get started, then you try to provide, and we've got some great materials here today. Give us an idea, as a young teacher possibly, is wanting to use agriculture as a teaching basis for several different subject matters. How can you help them out?
Well, number one, we have our summer graduate classes. And so all teachers need to advance on the salary scale, as well as get more basics into their education. And so we provide during the summer at least 4 graduate classes and Parkland classes related to agriculture. But it is so broad, and that's why agriculture is so exciting, is it can be in biotechnology, it can be in nutrition and health, it can be, we do talk about production agriculture, but these teachers aren't going to really go out.
That's what I was just going to say. You're not teaching them how to farm. Okay,
no,
all right.
Not at all. And really along their own subject areas. Environmental education is another one. You think, well, where would that fit in? But agriculture is some of the best stewards. The farmers with variable rate application and satellite imagery for their soil testing and application and soil conservation. So that's where the environmental ag comes in too. But one thing also that they get in the summer is an appreciation of what careers, because we have the classroom setting where they hear speakers or might work with materials from the kids. But then they also go out to the field sites. It might be the university, it might be a farmer, but they have that connection with the different careers. And so then they can help their students. And we also provide counselor summer classes periodically, just to get the middle school and the high school counselors up to speed in understanding that there are 22 million people working in agriculture out there. So it could be the horticulture field, it could be food science. So it's an exciting area, but so many, because of the lack of connection directly to the farm and agriculture, many students don't realize what those careers are out there.
I think it's interesting that you tie in the guidance counselors also. Teachers, we're going to understand and know more about that, but the guidance counselors, I would think have you been doing that for a long time, or is that kind of a new area?
Our very first class was with the counselors, and so we do it about every 3 or 4 years. The classes are wide open as far as who we market to. And K-12, which seems like a very strange mix, but it works very well because we teach at the adult level, and so they get excited about how it impacts their life. And then, so we'll have 1 or 2 counselors each class. So
I understand that for a teacher, say I was a teacher that was wanting to do a good job in my classroom to train the kids, I have to cover certain subjects or certain things to pass, is it state standards or whatever? Tell me how that all ties in with what you provide with the teachers.
What I have always known, but every summer it brings it back to me, is that teachers are highly creative. And I will say No Child Left Behind has hurt a little bit in that it is more of a roadmap that they have to follow. Not that that's bad, but teachers, when they get excited about a subject, become very creative. And sometimes that's not, as easy to do with all that they do have to teach. And what we really started in the very first of the program was that this is not an add-on that you have to think of one more thing you've got to put into that classroom or that day, but that it just completely melds into what they are teaching in the curriculum that their particular school district has laid out. And so they also have to develop a lesson plan, and many of them will develop more than one that they turn in. And that lesson plan, yes, covers the material that they learned that week, but it also is to be dovetailed right into the curriculum that they already have. We also have had several school districts who have come to us, and we also had a testing company come to us and say, we are going to be testing about X subject. What do you have that you can help us make that test correct? And so we gave them materials that we had in our kits, so that they could be testing correctly on the subject area. Did this dispel the whole rumor of the chocolate milk coming from the brown cow? I hope so.
Okay, all right, just wanted to check on that.
I hope so. But we've also had school districts who have wanted to highlight, and water is one that has just come up, and they've taken materials that we have put together and developed, and then put that actually into their curriculum. So that's been nice that we've been able to aid in that and kind of work collaboratively.
Lots of stuff there. Well, Brandy, you've got young people coming together to learn how to be better teachers. A program like this that has this type of resources, is that confusing to the young teachers, or does this help out the young teachers as they develop their own curriculums?
This helps out. What Robbie has in front of her, these ag mags, is something that my students are familiar with, and they use them because one thing, the high school students, it's important that they use those ag literacy efforts at the lower grades to get them introduced, so hopefully they'll be high school ag students. So they go down and teach lessons, and I've seen in schools where they've done ag expos and used these magazines along with activities that promote these concepts of the Illinois Learning Standards, where you tie it to English or you tie it to science, which is really important in these days with all of the standardized testing and things that the students need to know. So this also, it gives them something to start with, and then teachers are creative, so then they can figure out how they're going to implement this or make it grade level appropriate. So I've seen this used at the junior high level as well as the lower grades. So all of these things really do help them.
Who wants to volunteer for this one? Say I'm an an English teacher, or I'm teaching a part of English. How do you tie agriculture into an English program? Brandy, have you got any examples of that?
Well, with an English program, what you could do, or in my case with ag students, is you do journals or ag magazines. So it might be the Prairie Farmer, it could be the Farm Journal, where they have to take what they read and summarize it and do a writing activity. And they summarize what they found in the article to the other classmates. So not only are they becoming educated on it, they are writing to you as the teacher, but they also have to inform the other students through a little presentation of what they learned from the article. So that's something that you can tie agriculture and English to.
And of course, that article could be anything about soil conservation or new yield enhancing methods that farmers are using. And once again, because they learn how to do the English side of it, oh, by the way, they also learn about agriculture.
Right.
Okay, Robbie, how about math? How can I learn about math by agriculture?
Well, actually, I'm going back to English.
Okay, that'd be fine. Yes, ma'am.
And math.
Okay.
And science. I read the newspaper every day. I actually, now that it's a morning newspaper, get it read a little bit earlier in the day, but there are about 3, if not 4, agriculture-related articles in just area newspapers. And so we cut those out, laminate them, and have the teachers use those during the summer classes so that they can also look at the media and see, what is it in there. And we did that one summer pretty extensively with the teachers, and it was amazing. They went and read other journals, et cetera, and articles they never would have even, or they would have passed over. As far as math, math is in everything that's agriculture related. So we can do, when we do seed production, but production agriculture really helps us, and the farmers, when we go on the farm, they'll bring in their bankers, their seed dealers, and again, all of that can be math related. So it all ties in, and all of the manuals that we have in the kits have the social studies area, have the math, have the science, have history, so that all of those can be then tied in to that particular subject area.
Okay, so we've got one of the notebooks in front of us here, and this particular one is called poultry. All right, of course, chickens.
Or embryology.
Embryology. Oh, I'm not even sure if I've heard that one. Now, this particular unit would take how long, for what level? Tell me about what we've got in this book here.
Right, and it stems back again to the teacher's creativity. We have teachers at kindergarten through 8th grade using the embryology kits. And in this particular one, they actually hatch the chicks. And so there's math in determining how long incubation, and then the interest approaches that they have with each outline. And it would take, it takes 21 days to hatch a chick, so conceivably 21 days into maybe a month. Some of them, and most of the kits, are usually borrowed for about a week to 2 week period, and that's about as much, or as little, and that's not a bad thing, as 3 days, because a teacher can cover a subject very well
On a
in
unit,
2
it
to
would
3
be
days.
it would be a book about like this, but it could be covered in 3 days, rather this one would be almost a month. Okay, give us a couple of quick subjects you could think of off the top of your head of these.
The embryology?
Well, no, of the different, like poultry and what else?
Okay, yes, and we have so many, and then we come up with others that teachers suggest to us, but we put them together. But there's beef, there's soil, there's plants with the biology. We put nutrition and health together, and this one, of course, is embryology. Biotechnology, genetics, which this is what this piece comes from, and watersheds, soil conservation, which I mentioned soil before, but that's almost 2 different subjects. And so it just kind of goes on and on with new ones. Fibers is another one, because, as Brandy said, our clothing is our upholstery in our furniture.
Okay.
So.
So here we've got a great book. We've got something that we can learn about that's really hands-on. It's very practical. It's real in today's world. Guess what? This is where a scrambled egg comes from, you know. Randy, how many other people bring you books like this and say, you can help us teach by learning about that? Do other organizations do that as well? Other industries?
Well, not really. The only thing that we have is, Robbie had mentioned FK, which is Facilitation, Coordination, and Ag Education, and they put out some teacher resources CDs that actually have lessons already built in. Like, there's an ag business management cluster, there's a horticulture cluster, there's just the basic ag industry cluster, ag mechanics. Those are resources, but there's not very many kits like this, like books where they can pick this up, the teacher can get the background knowledge to go out and teach the material and seem like the expert even if they're not an expert, because it has all the items you need in there, from an interest approach to the background, terms, vocabulary, and then activities to conduct with your class to keep them engaged, which is really important in today's world.
And a unit like that, it's not like you're breaking new ground. It's been thought out, it's been researched, it's been documented, and of course it's part of agriculture. It's been around for a few years.
Right.
Does that help out in the credibility standpoint?
Yes, it definitely does.
Okay. Well, we've got more toys here. We want to show some of our toys here today. So you brought a neat looking thing out here. Let me take this back and tell us about what this is, Robbie, and what's going on here.
Well, this, like I said, comes from our genetics kit, and it's a DNA model. So this, and in the kits, you've shown the manuals, but in all of the kits, there are activities, hands-on activities.
I think we had a wire break here. I'm going to have to repair this. Sorry about that. Okay, so here we have DNA right here on the program. That's fantastic.
Right. And so when biotechnology came out in the media as, well, is this a bad thing or a good thing?
That's exactly what you do.
Then we put together a genetics, or FK put together a genetics kit, which most of these kits are worth between about $200 to even $500 of the materials that are related to the hands-on activities, because teachers have a limited classroom budget and they cannot go out, or do they have time to go out and get these materials. So all of those are there, as well as our program, because we've had some grants, and FK also, when they build the kits, put in now literature books, so that there's that tie-in as well. And I just brought some of those that are in our actually lending library as well.
Well, this seems like some pretty heavy-duty stuff. I mean, DNA and bioengineering. What grade levels are affected by this?
Well, kindergarten through 12th is basically it. Again, it seems like a very broad, but I also will be speaking next year, and have for about 4 years now, to the science education students who will be student teaching this year at the University of Illinois. And that is also done throughout the state. I mentioned we were a pilot project in 1993. There are now 65 different programs like this, and probably up to 75 in the state. We are the only state that has that type of network and that type of money that is put into it. So it's come from an idea and a concept from an agribusiness committee and dedicated staff at the FK program to a statewide and actually national recognized program. So the teachers are very lucky in this state with the amount of materials.
What a great accomplishment. That's a great accomplishment to be said here in the state of Illinois. Is there some impediment other than maybe the money side of it why this hasn't gone into some other states, or maybe it's just the agricultural background of Illinois?
It's money, basically, in just having someone who just goes out and challenges and gets that going. It takes a lot of man hours and a lot of dedication. And I mentioned, we have a lot of partners, and that's what it takes in the state. And that's what, at the state level, there is a lot of partners who have said this is important. So it's not that it can't be done in other states. Utah, some of the states that you don't even think are that agricultural do have programs, and maybe even some of the better ones.
Because a lot of this material is not necessarily based on Illinois agriculture, it's based on agriculture in Randy, is that the case you see?
And these types of things with the kits and the curriculum on CDs are actually sold in other states. Illinois has done such a great job developing these items that other states can purchase them for use. So people do buy the magic kits and these kits because no other place has them, and they feel like these are very beneficial to teacher educators, so they can purchase these from our state.
Why do I feel that it's just a matter of time possibly before this idea catches on and is going other places? That's good news, by the way. You talked about the magazines here, just real quickly. What are these and how are these used in the studies? These are Ag Mag magazines.
Right. And many times when we say Ag Mag, they think we're saying Egg Mag, which
Okay.
not really.
Slow down, let's slow that up.
So I guess it should be called Agriculture Magazine. But these are put out with from Illinois Farm Bureau. It takes about $10,000 to make a full run, and they are free to us. Not free to produce, but free to the programs. And they are written at about a third, fourth grade level, so we do not give them unless we know we're doing some adult education. But there's a lot of wonderful information in here. We have kind of the introduction to the subject, and then in the middle of we have then more information, but also then hands-on activities, as well as kind of a global look at agriculture. And then always on the back, there are people who are in the field that is talked about, this one being biotechnology, that actually has careers with that particular subject area. So there's a lot of information.
A lot of good stuff here. We've run through this, a lot of information. We've only got about a minute left. How can people find out more about this? Let's start, Brandy. What about with you? As students, how do they find out more about this type of information?
Well, we invite people such as FK coordinators or Robbie into the classroom to educate the students about it, and we also promote websites such, the agintheclassroom.org website, because they have tons of information to use.
And Robbie, how about you? For teachers that are looking for more information, how do they get a hold of this additional information?
Yes, actually the email address, earthpartners@hotmail.com, is the very best way, checking it all the time, and then and also 217-352-1942. But really the internet, and we hope to have our website up and going as well in the near future, but email is great.
Very good. Well, girls, thank you so much for taking the time with us today and telling us about the great work that's being done to use agriculture as a basis of a lot of education. So we also want to thank you for tuning in today and learning about this program. Please contact these websites and these folks to find out more information. And we appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. We'll hope you take time next time when we have a chance to tell you more about agriculture here in Champaign County. My name is Dennis Riggs. Thanks so much for listening.
Champaign County Agriculture Today is brought to you by Champaign County Farm Bureau.